A few weeks ago, when I was back in Ireland, I did a podcast with a man called Ivan Rhodes. He has a podcast called the Only Rhodes Podcast. You can find it on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and I'll leave a link below. And I do ask you, if please support these good Catholic men and women in Ireland who are trying to spread the faith. We do this out of love. We're not looking for anything in return. It's just the passion that we have for the faith, and it's great to see so many laity around Ireland, so many laity working with priests around Ireland, trying to awaken this consciousness, this return to the faith. And I think it's great to see Ivan and all the work he's done. So big thumbs up to you, and definitely somebody to watch. And anything you need, there's lots of people here in Ireland that will definitely, help you. And we need to encourage you as much as possible. So guys, please go to his, subscribe to one of his places, one of the places where he has a podcast. Please support him. Good guy. I really enjoyed the interview and praying for you. And I hope you please pray for me as well. God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.
I'd like to welcome Robert Nugent. Thanks so much for joining me on the Only Roads podcast.
It's a real pleasure. Thank you for reaching out.
Thanks so much. So for people who might not know of you or of your videos, could you just give us maybe a brief backstory and what made you want to start doing the videos on YouTube?
So I've tried to expand out in my life, where I've come from. I'm an Irish Catholic who was, at a very young age entered a seminary, very, very immature, and went through that, didn't think it was for me, and came out and moved on and did work in a multinational for the last 21 years. So doing a lot of project work, helping customers and supply chain and all this, which I thoroughly love. I really love work with great people. And but I suppose at some point during my life, I had to walk away. I had to decide: am I going to walk away from my faith, or am I going to take a journey to really understand what I believe in? Either I'm one thing or the other. I just couldn't live with the Sunday Mass when we felt like it, and the bland Christianity that we've let stewing in Ireland over the last number of years. So this kind of journey, it required me to, look inside myself, what is going on with my life? Who am I as a man? What areas in my life are broken? Because I lost a lot of past issues, how am I going to start fixing those? And I suppose over the years, I've seen Christ kind of working on me, kind of very silently, healing, talking, leading me, asking me questions, pointing me in directions. And then one day I kind of said, what do I do with this? Where do I bring it forward? And I was kind of frustrated what I'm seeing in the church, especially how the Eucharist is treated. And I said, look, I'll just speak from my heart. I'll just put it out there, warts and all, and people can like it or hate it or take it forward. It's not an apostolate I'm asking people for money from. The channel I left monetize the channel because I spent $4,000 to get a computer and camera. And I said, if the monetization pays for that over 2 years, then it's fine. Otherwise, my wife will say, "Oh, you're spending $4,000 on this." And I said, "Okay, yeah, I'm not. So I'm not asking people. I want to give an authentic message as best I can, without people, without it seeming that I'm benefiting from it, because I really don't. I just want to drive a conversation in Ireland and let people think and bounce ideas off each other. I think it's come to the time in the church where we have to live radical authenticity. We have to have purity of intention, live in the divine will, like Louisa Picaretta, a lot of people are reading her. We just have to, let Christ work in us today without looking for anything from him apart to just follow him, just walk with him, in peace, sincerity, and happiness, love, in tradition, loving our faith, digging into our faith. And I suppose over the last couple of years, Christ has been sending a lot of men into my life, from prayer groups, priests, a lot of people that are giving me a lot of help, direction, men that are really, warrior men type, we're doing deliverance prayers, helping each other. Not perfect men. These are not perfect, but they're authentic.
Yeah,
and this
I don't think the perfect man exists really. Well, if he is, he's not among us. I don't think too much, but yeah, that's brilliant, because even from seeing your videos, I could tell there was an authenticity coming forward. It wasn't. I couldn't see any, like, there's no like ulterior motive underneath it. Because some channels you can see there's a thread running under that they're kind of trying to kind of hook you in a little bit. But I think what caught me seeing your videos, and for people who don't know the name of the channel, I think the first word is Latin, isn't it? So it's De Crevi, is it?
Yeah.
So De Crevi, determined to
so
be Catholic.
De Crevi is the motto of my family, Nugent. And we live in the same place in Ireland for the last 800 years, since Hugh de Lacy and Delvin area. So it's just the motto of our family. If you go to the Abbey of Fore, you will see there they were the last abbot to leave Fore was a relation of my family as he closed the monastery with the dissolution of the monasteries. And there is the mausoleum, the crypt there. You have some Nugent family members, and I suppose the Nugents. I suppose we have a long history in the Irish Church. My family indirectly, and so I suppose I felt a need. I have to do something. If past Nugents were abbots and so forth in the Diocese of Meath, they must have loved the faith. I have to continue on as best I can to give an authentic message. And that's really the purpose of of my channel. It's just ask people to think, please, discern yourself. Don't, listen to me, think, but discern yourself.
Yeah. And I think that's good as well. It's good.
I'm not asking anybody to follow me or pay me. You have to discern.
Brilliant. Yeah, and that's I think that's the best way to approach it too, because to get that authenticity you're looking for, it needs to be someone's decision to either accept the information you're giving them or not. Because then there is some nice challenging moments in the videos too, where you are prompting people to think a little bit about, what are we doing here and where are we going and all this. And that's that's what caught my ear, because I do like that. Because I think, especially in the kind of modern way, at least the church maybe is viewed, or even modern people, even myself might fall into this too, where there can be just kind of there's a bland acceptance of what the church is or what the church teaches, and you see the history, and so you kind of turn away, and I think that's a very a common thing that happens nowadays. So especially using the old roots, like the Nugent roots to really, to plant feet on the ground really helps, I'm sure. So where do you see, do you see a lot of, considering now the past of how Ireland, say, used to be connected to that tradition and to that faith, like the land of saints and scholars, and, a lot of heroic people in the priesthood. I even think of like the 1798 rebellion in Wexford, Father John Murphy was heading the militias and all. Where do you think it dropped off? How, obviously there's news articles will tell you specifically where they think it dropped off, but where do you see the big change happened as to why people see the church as they do today?
I think in many ways Ireland was formed, in the last 2 centuries. There was a certain Jansenist wind blowing in Irish Catholicism, because a lot of priests would have come from France and brought a slightly Jansenist view, which it can be very stark, very hard way of preaching the gospel, of living the faith, and that covered up a lot of men that weren't really authentic. They might have lived outwardly something, but they weren't authentically living it. There was a lot of good, authentic Catholics, don't get me wrong, and this is just my reflection of what went on. But let's not kid ourselves. Even before Vatican II, there were a lot of systemic problems with men religious going into religious life, maybe not living a double life, but not being at peace and authentic with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then as the modern age progressed out, that just blew up, and Vatican II, just added fertilizer to some specific problems that already existed in the Catholic Church. So you do have a lot of really good, authentic Catholic men and women in Irish Catholicism. The Jesuit Sullivan, he's a convert. He was beatified recently. You have these men doing profound battle with themselves, thinking it through. But there was a lack sometimes of that deep spiritual battle that men have to take and women have to take, and this has come through now. So we're in an age now where God has stripped the Irish Church of, all of the structures, all of the things that we had. And over the course of this year, he'll start stripping it more, because if you're living the double life, you're going to be stripped away,
Mm-hmm.
and he's going to leave us with people that are either authentic, or he's going to get rid of the inauthenticity, because we can't carry forward the faith if we live a double life. If we're not authentic, we simply cannot carry it through. But when you take that road of authenticity, of purity of intention, that narrow path, as somebody's saying, when you're deep into the meditation in the gospel, when you're just, your life is just, the gospel is just, it's just killing me what's coming. When you're going in there, it's just mind blowing what Christ then starts doing. And it is, it's got, what can I say? So I suppose, it was always there. The sad thing, this was always there. Many people along the history of the church did this, experienced this. It was all, and somehow, we lived during the penal times in Ireland with a very humble faith, with a very, pared back faith. Then we had from the 1800s this growth in Catholicism, this massive growth with a lot of influence from France, where priests would have studied. Mm-hmm. A lot of growth. But there was a lot of problems where people were not doing the spiritual battle that they needed to do with themselves.
Yeah, so it's more of an imperative to transform yourself, and hopefully transform the people around you, instead of, because I even as I was growing up, and I'm sure like my parents and stuff growing up, it was kind of like you're born into it, not to really understand it. You're not really catechized. You don't really understand what's going on most of the time. You kind of take it for granted. So I'd imagine, because that's only going surface deep, naturally, when a time of persecution or a time of like real rot is showing in the church, like it has over the last couple of decades, naturally, I would say people just kind of fall away from that because they have no connection to the roots, I really, that's a great way of putting it, to be authentic and to have that intentive will to transform in the name of the gospel. Like, that's good. That's a good one.
I mean, it's just driving the conversation, and it's that's all I want for people to do, is just to have that conversation with yourself, just to sit down in front of the Eucharist, open up the gospel and start having that conversation with God, because Ivan, I will tell you, hand on heart, God exists. Christ exists. The gospel is real, and it's powerful, and it's transformative. And you drive that conversation, and you will start other people looking at the light and saying, "Oh, now I see. I can see it for myself. They don't need me now. They don't need to listen to me. You've encountered the truth." And then people start moving forward, helping each other, and that's evangelization. It's Catholicism. We just have to pare back what has been covered up here, the destruction of our faith, and you will encounter Christ. It's beautiful. It's absolutely incredible. So You know, I hope this conversation goes forward, but it has to be done slowly and with great humility and purity of intention. And I'm not the perfect man to be preaching this, but I suppose Christ has kind of drawn me out of my on authenticity in the past, my struggles in my life, my problems in my life, you know, to bring me forward. You know, when I was an 18-year-old teenager going into a seminary, I was very immature, you know, even myself, you know, my teenage years, you know. But God, He works on us. He's constantly, you know, come on, work on yourself, battle with yourself, you know, grow up, be
100%.
a man. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
So
And I think it's almost in hindsight, you can kind of see those little moments that you probably weren't aware of. That was a pivotal moment, and there's some kind of divine hand of grace going in there and just kind of moving the chess pieces around almost. That's
even
great.
today, even today, Ivan, we were leaving mass, and my son, he gave me 2 miraculous medals, and he said to me, "Daddy, look, I have 2 miraculous medals that were in front of the car." And then my daughter was saying, "Look, Daddy, maybe this is a sign you need to keep going."
Yeah, there you go. That's a good sign to keep going. Yeah, that's perfect. That's perfect.
So
I can tell even from your demeanor that you definitely see hope in the Irish Church. I think because we have maybe a lot of access to like what's happening scandal wise, or like, oh, the Pope said this, or someone said this, or some old thing got dug up, and this is the new news. But despite all that, you still see hope. So where would you say are those flickers of hope in the church at the moment?
Well, you're a baptized Catholic, and I'm a baptized Catholic. So we're brothers in the same faith. We're part of the same family.
Amen.
We stop asking. We can carry forward the hope that we have encountered in our lives. So I look at me first, and I'm not going to go at the moment to judge or look at other people. We are the hope. And so when people are feeling down and looking at everything that's going on in the church, we have to understand we are baptized Catholics. We are the same family. You are my brother in Christ. And as brothers in Christ, and I've lots of people that are helping me with this, a fraternity of men that I know, we humble men as brothers in Christ have to really let that light of Christ shine in our souls. And we will bring forward this amazing encounter with Christ. So, you know, I had to walk spiritually a path where I had to say to God, even if everybody left you, Christ, even if the Pope, all the bishops, all the priests, everybody left you, and I was standing alone on Calvary, and nobody came, nobody followed you, at least I would be here, and I will never break that promise. And if you take that road to Calvary alone and say you will never abandon the cross, no matter who, what, where, or what scandal, then you will never, ever lose hope and lose faith. And so we have to walk to Calvary now, alone, in our lives, interiorly. And then once that happens, you won't care what goes on in the church. And Christ will work with us, and He will ask us to drive a conversation. So there's hope, because it lives in my soul. You know, it's there. I've seen it, and it's transforming me. It's driving questions, and you know, I can just see like God is bombarding me with people, you know, coming left, right. You know, all this weekend I've been meeting people, and I've been saying, God, I'm so glad that this person came and had a conversation with me, totally unexpected, and he, you know, giving encouragement. So the hope starts with us. The reform, the purification starts in our soul, and we move forward.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's really well put, I think, because I think a lot of us, even including myself, there's a tendency, I think, to look outward and to change things out here, and in the hope that it'll all conform to like the right place, so I can then move into that space of transforming, you know.
Yeah.
But you're dead right. I love the way you put that, that it is an interior choice to take up that cross and to continue walking, even though it might look dismal. And like a lot of the time it is quite dismal on the outside. You know, and I think it's okay, like still to like talk about those, you know, the things that are happening out there, but to do it with a kind of a balanced view, because it's so easy to kind of make all the noise about what's wrong, I think, without kind of turning the finger back at ourselves and going, oh, wait a second, maybe I'm the one that's actually we got to change and got to go to that, you know, go to Calvary, like you said, you know, like that's brilliant. Yeah, that really, I think that'll hit home, I think, with a lot of people as well, because I think the radical change that's needed, it's almost like, as if you hear stories of the ancient Irish and how close to the faith, especially going through the oppression and stuff like that, that they would have had to have had a real authenticity about them in order to undergo like the penal laws in Ireland and to undergo all of the persecution leading up, you know, throughout the centuries. So it is, like I've heard of a few groups, even, I don't know if you know Holy Family Mission down in Glencumra.
I do.
And there's these little pockets of just really authentic Catholics trying to live out that truth, you know. And you can tell, like, even just being like, I know we're zoomed across from each other here, but I can tell there's this kind of light shining almost from the genuineness, and you can really tell that when you're around people who've been living in this truth, you know. It's like it was part of the reason that I, you know, eventually wanted to learn more and more about my own faith and about my own connection to the past and stuff. It's like this, it's a real contagious light, I think. And it can blow your head open, you know, it can blow your heart open and all of it, you know. But it's a very powerful, I think it's a powerful witness as well for the modern day, because it's so radical. Like to be, I say this often, but to be countercultural nowadays is to be, you know, like man and woman, to get married and have kids. That's radical nowadays, you know. Which is quite ironic, you know. So it's great. It's great to see those pockets of hope out there.
Yeah. Like I was having a conversation. I have a 21-year-old daughter, and she's studying philosophy. And she's really taking a countercultural way. Like, she wants to think, she wants to, you know, dig into to deep problems. And she's just an amazing daughter, one of my amazing daughters. But she's just, you know, and we're always challenging each other with ideas and discussions. And she's saying, did you look at Joe Rogan? Did you look at Jordanson's video? Did you look at Michaela Jordanson's video? You know, Michaela, his daughter. And are you looking at this? You know, really challenging and having this battle of ideas, because today's world, people are lost. They don't know what to believe in. You know, men, especially for men, you can be lost in pornography. You know, men, you know, masturbating their life away. You know, living this shellless life. You know, who am I? What am I? What is my masculinity? What do I do in my life? And you know, we have to have an open conversation. You know, that's fine if you want to live it, but look, you can live another life. There is, you know, Christ. When you let him into your life, it gives you so much to think on. You don't have time sometimes to actually wonder, well, what? I'm not falling into sin. I'm not even looking at, you know, I just don't have time, because Christ keeps, you know, sending stuff into your life. And I suppose we can give this countercultural, humble testimony. We can just say, look, you can live all of that. You can go on and you can spend your hours on your computer. You can do all of that. Like, it's all there. It's free. Like, the world doesn't care anymore. Well, we have our Christian path here. If you're interested, you know, try it out. Come along. You might be surprised what you will find. And people that walk down that path are finding their lives completely transformed. And I just say, you know, there's a men's prayer group that we go to that I didn't start this. And, you know, the men aren't perfect, but they are radically authentic. And And we don't look for money. We're not on Facebook. We have no website. We don't recruit. It's all word of mouth. And they have problems. We walk together with radical authenticity. And it's beautiful, Ivan. I tell you, it is transformative. So, a lot of hope. We have to keep positive. And we, you, Ivan, me, we as baptized brothers, we bring that light and hope forward. And people will either accept it or not, but they will only accept radical authenticity. They won't accept anything else.
Yeah,
and we have to live
100%
that.
agree. I think people as well, like if they're tuned in, people can sense inauthenticity. I think when they come across it, there's a hinky feeling they get on their shoulders or whatever about people who are saying one thing but meaning another. You even mentioned Jordan Peterson and these kind of people that are kind of making moves online. I think as well, apart from it seems like especially Jordan Peterson and that kind of circle of people that he's involved with, they're definitely prompting, I think, a kind of a curiosity and a deeper kind of outward understanding of say like the Bible and what it means to live a truly good, true and beautiful life. I think I do love the outside perspective of it. I think helps people in the world nowadays almost to approach it easier, because I find if people hear like say a doctrinal statement or something like that, usually depends on how they grow up, and of course they tend to have a kind of reactionary response to it. Whereas when people in the culture are like, oh no, actually maybe, take a look at that a little closer and delve into actually what's in your tradition, people seem to really be responding to that, and I think that's even that's an amazing sign of hope too. I think in a day and age when, like, I'm pretty sure Peterson has like 10, 20 lectures or something online all about the Bible, and they're all like an hour and a half long. And you would think, oh no, modern people who are used to TikTok and all these that flick through like a video a second are never going to sit down for an hour and a half to listen to like Jordan Peterson talk about Abraham and the promises and all this.
Yeah.
But lo and behold, it takes off, and it's really telling to this. There's something there that's kind of resonating with people, even if they're not even aware of it. It's, and I think what I'm trying to do, I think, is kind of reach out to people even like yourself and people who are living in this way and have this way of living in the world, through higher virtue and things.
Yeah.
But kind of trying to almost meet the culture halfway in a way. We're taking it from like, I'm not just going to tell you what to believe, or I'm not going to tell you what I think you should think, but kind of trying to point like thread through, look, this is what the past was. This is how the present is. And look, there is these real golden threads running through if you pay attention, I think it's really it's a challenge, of course, but it's, I do like the way that a lot of the secular people are approaching it, because they're shining lights where maybe we're not able to shine those lights clear sometimes. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about it today, there's this big movement for fasting, which is not religious at all.
Yeah.
And that was we had that.
That was our
even
thing.
In Irish. Wednesday and Friday, we're connected to fasting. So, and then you have this whole movement, like today, like totally secular, drawing men out of, masturbation and porn and all of this. And it's a secular movement.
Yeah.
And they've gone through this. And I said, look, well, the Catholic Church did say, look, guys, come on, be men, battle with yourself a little, and we're afraid as Catholics to say, come on, men, have a little battle with yourself, go out of yourself, because we're called to be fathers. Every man is called to be a father, and we're called to sacrifice. We're called to work. We're called to defend, and this was a meditation I had to do for over many years,
mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of men now doing this in the Catholic Church, and once you realize, now it all clicks together in my life, as a man, and all of these secular people are reaching the same conclusion, And I have to say, look, the Catholic Church, had all of this in its past, telling men, be careful with your passions because they can destroy you. You can be addicted to alcohol. You can be addicted to sex. You could end up destroying other people's lives, and people might say, well, it's only a little bit today. Well, you don't know where it'll lead to. So the Catholic Church had some very good and very good logical human principles because it's founded on the truth. It's founded on age-old truths. And we just have to unpack them now, unpack our tradition, and give it back to people because it's been taken away from us over the last number of years. There's a lot of people living double lives that are, and I won't get into it in this video. So us laymen, as best we can, we have to unpack our traditions and put them back so that people can see them and love them. And that's, what we have to do. We have to be real men and we have to help others. And women will love us more if we're real men, and we'll heal society if we're real men. And this is just the truth I'm saying. This is the truths that I've meditated on. There's nothing that I'm giving here that's anything new. It's just, it was there, as I said, I was doing a video on Lazarus Come Forth of Valentin Tomberg, and he was just saying the truths are all there, guys. We just have to take them out. The church has been putting stuff away for a number of years. Well, us laity are going to start taking out our treasures. Leave them to the world.
I was just thinking that it's like a treasury. It's like there's a deposit, like they even call it the deposit of faith. That's there, and it's a treasury waiting to be plundered, almost. But it is fascinating how it's these truths obviously nowadays are completely countercultural, but there's still it's human. It's not this far off distant thing. It's a human want to connect with people and to go through the darkness and come out the other side. And and you can see it in all stories. Like there's a YouTuber I love now. He's an Orthodox Christian. It's Jonathan Pajot, who talks a lot about like symbolism and Christian symbolism and all that stuff, and how the church, the modern culture itself is is laid out with these symbolic structures that are ultimately found in the Gospels and in the Old Testament, and the connection there.
Yeah,
and pretty much most stories are sprung from that. So to see, he's fantastic. He'll blow your head open in a lot of different ways, but if you can hang on, he has a great way of explaining how these patterns are inherent. So I think it's definitely no surprise that there's these secular movements that are actually trying to actually go for the true, good, and beautiful, without needing, say, the religious tinge. But the religious tinge gives it this cosmic dimension. I think it gives it this radical importance in your own life. So it's great. It's the wealth we have out there, even of people just even like yourself and like a lot of YouTubers and stuff. They're highlighting these things that we can't always come to conclusions ourselves. So I think it's a really amazing connection that's happening at the same time as the world is kind of burning at the same time. So it's very strange how two things are existing at the same time. It's fascinating.
It's bizarre. And it's strange. We live in the TikTok age, and then we live in the long blog age. Like Joe Rogan can do a 4.5 hours unedited conversation, and he gets millions of views. And then people will go to that, and then you have the TikTok, 30 seconds stroll down my life is being hypnotized by 30-second stuff. And we really have something is really bizarre happening in this world. People will come to a realization: I'm fed up with TikTok. I'm fed up with the cheap gratification. I'm fed up with cheap love. I'm fed up with cheap whatever that they were getting. I want reality. I want solid. I want to know myself, and I want to be a man who understands myself. It's great to see this. And my daughter, she's been doing the same thing for years. She's really digging in. She's a real thinker, and she was pulled in lots of different directions. But then she said, Daddy, I want to think, I want to study, I want to know truths. And I was just so, I suppose my daughter is teaching me so many things as well. But she's an amazing woman. And this is the generation that's coming, people thinking things through, really digging in. And I suppose it's an exciting time to be alive, Ivan. This is a very exciting time.
Definitely, yeah. There's no shortage of exciting things that are happening, and a lot of interesting. We'll keep all the words friendly. There's good, interesting things happening. There's strange things happening, but there's also these severe pockets of hope and these really, really real people kind of coming to the surface, which is, and it's amazing because the world can see now. If you look for it online, you'll find it, and it's all there. So yeah. I kind of want to switch gears a little here. I saw some of your videos on that you did about the Camino, the Santiago.
Yeah.
And for people who don't necessarily know what that is, what is that exactly?
So the Camino de Santiago, it's a pilgrimage to Santiago de Compostela in Spain. It's where the body of Saint James the Apostle is supposed to be buried, and it's one of the three major pilgrimage routes in Europe. You have Jerusalem, Rome, and Santiago. So Saint Francis de Assisi, he would have done that pilgrimage to Santiago 810 years ago, for example. And I've walked it about 8 times, and when I soon realized I had to pass on to my son to drive conversation with my son, so that he won't understand everything today, but in the future he'll be able to go back and dig out the thousands of kilometers that we've walked, because he's been walking since he was 7.
And so how long is it, would you say, if you know the number off the top of your head?
Yeah, you can. So the minimum you do is 100 kilometers, about 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
And then the maximum you can do is you can walk from Russia, which people have done, and spend months walking. So you decide. So you have to, everyone, it's either a minimum of 100 or maximum of what you like. So we've walked up from Portugal, we've walked from France, and it's really just to drive conversations, with my son, so that in years to come, he understood. As a father, I'm trying to, point him in a direction that he has to be a real man. He has to protect women, love women. He has to be, battle with himself. He has to, take that pilgrimage, that journey. And so we've been doing this for 4 years. Four Caminos.
Wow.
So over about 1,500 kilometers. And not easy, some days, good days, bad days, Daddy, I'm the only boy walking on my own. And,
well, fair play though. Fair play for a young fella to be doing that. Well, that's a great achievement. Like, a lot of people can't even walk into town. So to be able to walk across Europe, or at least a portion of Europe, that's very impressive. I remember seeing. I don't know if you've seen I think The Walk with Martin
The Way.
That's it. Yeah. And that was great. Like I saw it, and it was. I don't know. Is it accurate? Would you say, to at least the journey? Is it accurate to the trudgery that you kind of have to seem to go through?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, there was some inaccuracies. They were wearing jeans. Nobody walks with jeans. Nobody. Absolutely. So they could have done a little bit more study, but it is very, very accurate in many ways. It's Martin Sheen. His family comes from Galicia, so it was Martin Sheen and his brother. Esteban. They're 2 brothers. Even though they have different surnames, they're doing this movie, and it's a beautiful movie because it was really just a labor of love for them. It wasn't a money maker, as far as I'm aware. They just wanted to bring it along, and they had some really good actors. It's very accurate. It's very, very. When you're walking the Camino, you're saying, "Oh, I remember this from the movie," and actually. my son and myself, I brought my laptop with me, the MacBook, so we were going to do some stuff, and we actually had the movie, and we were watching the movie on the Camino in our hostel, and discussing it and thinking about it, and
it's like an inception of the Camino. That's awesome.
yeah.
That's
So
brilliant.
we really enjoyed it, and I mean, it's been a great journey, and I just hope other people find inspiration from it. Because Ivan, there's so much depression, there's so many people lost in drugs, lost in a cave in the darkness of their life.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody is listening to this podcast and you're lost and you're in the darkness, reach out to us. We'll come out. There's so much light out here, and you'll be transformed in your life. Because I've worked with men that have had depressions, addictions, and all of this, and that are flying today. They're just in the skies. And so I hope the Camino videos are be a little bit of inspiration. They're not great edited very well. They're just what we did, and see what people think. But it's just to drive a conversation more than anything else.
That's really cool. Now I don't know how long you have or whatever. I can maybe throw another question at you there. And I'm always interested in like book recommendations, or even podcast recommendations now that we're in the digital world. And what would be your go-to? Say we'll start with books. What would be your go-to books for anyone maybe who's interested in what we're saying here?
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me just get some stuff. Where am I going to go? I've so much.
It's quite a collection you have there.
Yeah. Well, guys. Okay. If this is a Catholic. So many people are journeying the faith. Just read the Catechism to start with. I have a commentary here, but the Catechism itself, the teachings of the Church, they're not very. There's about how many are we talking about here? 2,000 little briefs. So the Catechism itself, it's not very complicated. And I just ask Catholics, if you love the faith, just read up on the Catechism, the modern one, and then you can go to the traditional ones as well. Because I think it's good for Catholics that we read, our history. The reason I'm saying is people should read the Catechism, the modern, the John Paul II one, is he does expand on certain issues like abortion and euthanasia that maybe 500 years ago they didn't know that we would have this phenomenon today.
Okay.
So I think simply because of that. So I'd ask them I'd ask Catholics to do that. Obviously, sacred scripture. Gentle Traditionalist. Roger Book has 3 books. Gentle Traditionalist Returns, and Cor Jesu Sacratissima. So good book there. I like Maliki Martin stuff. Windswept House. I'm reading that at the moment. Valentin Tomberg, his latest works, I love those. I don't have a huge amount of time to do reading. I do like Father Elijah. If you haven't read Father Elijah, The Apocalypse, I read that 25 years ago, and I'm reading. I'm rereading it. So Michael D. O'Brien. Just a great Catholic author.
Okay.
And I have a few.
Would that be fiction? Is it fiction? Is it?
That's Catholic fiction, but
Okay.
highly recommend it. There's a book called Lord of the World, written over 100 years ago, which Pope Benedict and Pope Francis have recommended. So both of them. I highly recommend anybody listening to this to read Lord of the World. You can, and if you don't have time, take it out as an audiobook. So when you're out walking, just read through it. Because if you understand Lord of the World, you'll understand a lot of what is going on in the church today. We are living in this period of the Lord of the World, and 2 popes have realized this. And so, please read Lord of the World. It's not very long, and it's out of copyright now as well. So you can even Google the text afterwards. So read that. What else am I reading? What other book did I recently get? Brian Nugent is a friend of mine. For me, we're probably related. He does a lot of good stuff in Ireland. So I recommend Marian Apparitions in Ireland. If you're Irish, it's just a history book. Actually, he does a lot of good history. He did the Tuam Babies history. So anybody in Ireland, you want some good historical. He's a good researcher. Reach out to Brian Nugent, and I have his contact details. I highly recommend anything with Brian that Brian is doing at the moment. He's doing a lot, and he's self-publishing, but it's really good stuff. And we're good friends, and so highly recommend that. But that's just some stuff I'm reading. I'm a bit all over the place at the moment. But
that's awesome. That's awesome. It's you like considering the bookshelf behind you, I can see you're well read. So it is a challenge nowadays, I'm sure, to try to find some of that time to read and stuff. But thanks a lot for those recommendations. Yeah. And then just
no
I have a like podcasts or like a kind of digital kind of style stuff. Would you recommend any specifics that you read? Or
Yeah, with Pajot, you were just mentioning him. I've been following his stuff, so we're following the same person there. I used to listen a lot to Taylor Marshall, but then he kind of, I like some good content. You get into good discussions. So I don't listen as much to Taylor Marshall because he's not that he's bad or anything. It's just I need something more substantial, Mm-hmm. So Pajot, Jordan Peters, and Joe Rogan, I'll dip into the odd time. If I'm ever in the car, I will put on some podcasts that I can find. Struggling to find some stuff. I suppose, I would ask Catholic writers or anybody that's out there if you could do podcasts on specific topics and just expand out them so that we can, educate ourselves on. That's really important. American Catholicism, it can be very focused on American problems. And I'd really like us as traditional Catholics to unpack tradition and so forth. So Peter Kwasniewski, if you're ever listening to him, he's very, very good at unpacking history and talking about it. He doesn't have you'll see a lot of his videos on YouTube, and I do recommend if people are reach out to Peter. Very good family, and these type of people. But I don't have a lot of time at the moment to listen to too many of them. Who else am I listening to? Like Ascension Presents. I do listen to them a good bit. Yeah, mm-hmm. I was walking with the founder, Matthew Pinto, on the Camino, and his sons. We just happened to meet, and he kind of inspired me because I was asking, how do I do this Catholic apostolate? Because I can't leave my work, and how do I do it part time? And do I ask for money? Do I not ask for money? Mm-hmm. And we were just discussing this, and so I had to do something. So he was actually Matthew Pinto and Ascension Presents. They were inspiration to really start me on this. They didn't give just a conversation that we, providentially had on the Camino with his son. So I do like their stuff. So I think we just need to be. If you know of any podcasts, it's good the ones that start the conversation, get us thinking. Yes. That changing our lives and stuff like that. But that's what I'm listening to at the moment.
Brilliant. That's brilliant. Yeah, because I do listen to a lot of the podcasts myself. But after a while, you're like, okay, but how do we focus on this side of the pond? Say, like you said, American style, but how do you focus on this side of the world? I think now there's a kind of resurgence of the Irish, the lens going onto the Irish side of it, or at least the European side of it.
Yeah.
I think even people like yourself, even what I'm trying to do and things like that, I think they're gonna, hopefully these things will blossom and there'll be more and more people focus on where we all come from, because I'm half Egyptian, so not necessarily the most Irish looking fella ever, but born and raised there. But the Irish side of me is super fascinated, especially with the history and how it connects to now and how we can how we can bridge those two gaps together. So listen, I really appreciate the conversation. I had a great time talking to you, Rob. And hopefully we get to.
And it was a pleasure. And absolutely, we have to. We definitely have to. We we're brothers in Christ. We're baptized. The hope starts with us. The transformation of Christianity starts with us laymen. We don't go asking people to do what we're not prepared to do. So we have to dig into our faith and take it forward, and we'll bring people along with us, and it will be beautiful. Okay.
Amen. That's brilliant. And just one more time, the channel that you have is De Crevi, Determined to be Catholic. So
De Crevi, Determined to be Catholic. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I highly recommend all of you guys that are listening to check it out. Okay, Robert, thank you so much.
Take care.
All right.
Okay. Bye-bye.